Have you ever watched a daughter steal $800,000 from her dying mother while banning her own sibling from saying goodbye? 3 weeks ago, I found myself on my knees at 2 a.m., scrubbing bathroom floors at Sunset Valley Nursing Home. Not because I needed the $15 an hour, but because it was the only way I could hold my mother's hand one last time after my sister Rebecca banned me from visiting. She'd taken Mom's $850,000, bought herself a shiny new BMW X7, and stuck our mother in the cheapest facility she could find. Hi, I'm Morgan Blake, 38 years old, and what I'm about to share with you is the story of how a tiny locket and a hidden USB drive exposed the biggest betrayal our family had ever seen. A betrayal that would ultimately lead to a courtroom showdown, a fortune restored, and justice served in ways Rebecca never saw coming. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you are watching from. It started at Rebecca's house in January 2024 during what she called a family meeting, but was really just her victory lap. She'd invited our aunts, uncles, and cousins, 15 people in total, to announce she'd handled everything regarding Mom's care. Eleanor is all settled at a wonderful facility, Rebecca announced, twirling the keys to her new BMW. Top-rated care, beautiful gardens, the works. And before anyone asks, yes, I'm using my own bonus from work to cover any gaps in her care. I tried to speak up. Rebecca, which facility exactly? I'd like to visit. Morgan, the adults are handling this, she cut me off, not even looking at me. Our cousin Janet snickered. You know how overwhelming these decisions can be for someone in tech. They're used to computers, not real-world responsibilities. The room laughed. I'd been caring for Mom every weekend for 2 years while Rebecca showed up maybe once a month, but somehow I was the irresponsible one. I was the family joke. The quiet software engineer who couldn't even stand up for herself, let alone make important decisions. Rebecca continued. I've taken full power of attorney, both medical and financial. It's a huge burden, but someone competent had to step up. She glanced at me with that familiar condescension. Mom needs stability, not someone who works from home playing with computers. I felt my cheeks burn but stayed silent, as always. What I didn't know was that 2 weeks earlier, Rebecca had already moved Mom to Sunset Valley, withdrawn the first $100,000, and put a down payment on that BMW. The bonus she mentioned? It would turn out to be Mom's life savings. But that night, all I could do was smile and nod while my family praised Rebecca's sacrifice. Something felt wrong, so that night I searched for Sunset Valley Nursing Home. My stomach dropped when Google Maps showed it was 45 minutes outside Seattle, in an industrial area near the airport. The reviews made it worse, 2.5 stars, with recent complaints about understaffing, dirty bathrooms, and cold food. My father lost 15 pounds in 2 months. Found my mom sitting in soiled clothes. Cheapest option for a reason. You get what you pay for. My hands shook as I called their front desk the next morning, pretending to inquire for a relative. Your basic care package starts at $1,800 per month, the receptionist said. That's our most economical option. $1,800. The cheapest in the entire county. I then called Willowbrook Manor, the 5-star facility Rebecca had described at dinner. Our memory care unit starts at $8,000 monthly, they informed me. We have a 2-year waiting list. Rebecca had Mom's entire savings, $850,000 according to the last bank statement I'd seen, yet she'd chosen the absolute cheapest option available. Where was the money going? I tried calling Mom's cell, but it went straight to voicemail. Called the nursing home directly, but they said Eleanor Blake couldn't come to the phone. Is she okay? I asked, panic rising. I can only discuss patient information with authorized contacts, the nurse replied. Rebecca Blake is listed as the sole contact. That evening, my phone buzzed with a text from Rebecca. Heard you've been snooping around. Don't even think about visiting Mom. You'll only confuse and upset her. I've made sure of that. Made sure? What did that mean? I was about to find out exactly how far my sister had gone to keep me away. I drove to Sunset Valley the next morning, determined to see Mom regardless of Rebecca's warning. The security guard stopped me at the entrance, checking his tablet with a frown. "I'm sorry, Ms. Blake, but you're on the no-contact list," he said, turning the screen toward me. There was my name and photo under Restricted Visitors. Do not admit. "That's my mother in there. Eleanor Blake, room 247, please." He shook his head sympathetically. "Your sister has full power of attorney. She filed this restriction citing family conflict that causes patient distress. If I let you in, I could lose my job. Worse, you could be charged with trespassing." Trespassing? For visiting my own mother? "Ma'am, I understand it's hard, but Ms. Rebecca Blake provided legal documentation. She specifically stated you have a history of upsetting the patient and causing psychological disruption. If you attempt entry, she's authorized us to call the police and she'll file a restraining order." I sat in my car in that parking lot for an hour, staring at the building where my mother was dying, just 500 feet away but completely unreachable. Rebecca had thought of everything. With her POA, she could legally keep me away indefinitely. Any lawyer I consulted would need months and thousands of dollars to challenge it. Time and money I didn't have. That night, Rebecca called me directly. "The guard told me about your little visit," she said coldly. "Let me be crystal clear, Morgan. If you step foot in that facility as a visitor, I'll have you arrested for trespassing and file a restraining order. You want a criminal record? Keep pushing." I hung up without responding. There had to be another way. Mom was in there, alone and confused, and I was running out of time. 2 weeks passed before my phone rang at 11 p.m. Unknown number. "Morgan Blake?" The voice was professional but gentle. "This is Dr. Sarah Coleman, head nurse at Sunset Valley. I shouldn't be calling you, but your mother, she doesn't have much time. 3 to 4 weeks at most." My throat tightened. "How bad is it?" "See, the Alzheimer's has progressed rapidly, but there are moments of clarity. She calls for you constantly, especially at night." "Where's my Morgan?" Over and over. Dr. Coleman paused. "I've been doing this for 20 years. Every patient deserves to see their loved ones at the end. Rebecca has me on the no-contact list. If I show up, she'll have me arrested." There was a long silence. Then carefully, "I cannot let you in as a visitor. My hands are tied by the POA. But—" Another pause. "We're desperately short-staffed on the night shift. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The janitor who cleans the memory care wing just quit. 3-day background check, then you could start immediately." My heart raced as I understood. Night janitors have access to all floors? For cleaning purposes, yes. Every room. And between 2 and 3 a.m., the medication schedule means many patients are awake. There's minimal supervision on night shifts, just one nurse for the entire wing. Her voice dropped. "Your mother's room always needs extra attention. She tends to knock things over, poor dear. Might take 30-40 minutes to clean properly." "Dr. Coleman, I've said too much already. The application is online. I can't help you any further." She added softly, "But Morgan, your mother keeps clutching this small locket. She won't let anyone take it. Says it's for her daughter when the time comes." The line went dead. Within minutes, I was filling out the janitorial application. I stared at the application screen, calculating the absurd brilliance of it. As an employee, I wouldn't be a visitor. I'd have a legitimate business purpose. Rebecca could ban me as a visitor, but she couldn't prevent an employee from doing their job without cause. The math was simple. Fight Rebecca in court for 6 to 12 months and spend $30,000 I didn't have, or work as a janitor for 3 weeks and see Mom while she was still alive. The background check would clear in 3 days. I could start Monday. I called my manager at the software company where I'd worked for 12 years. "David, I need emergency family leave. 3 to 4 weeks. Unpaid is fine." "Morgan, is everything okay? This is sudden." "My mom is dying. It's complicated." He didn't press further. "Take the time you need. Your job will be here. I borrowed my friend Lisa's old Honda. My Tesla would raise questions in the staff parking lot. Bought 3 sets of scrubs from Goodwill. Downloaded podcasts about cleaning techniques to make myself believable. If Rebecca somehow found out and complained, I needed to be an actual, competent janitor. The background check cleared on Friday. HR at Sunset Valley called Saturday morning. Can you start Monday night? 11 p.m. sharp? Yes, absolutely. The pay is 15 an hour, parking included. You'll be assigned the memory care wing primarily. It needs the most attention. Memory care. Mom's wing. One more thing, the HR manager added, her tone meaningful. We value employees who are dedicated to our residents' well-being. Sometimes that means taking extra time to ensure their rooms are perfectly maintained. As long as your work gets done, we don't micromanage how long you spend in each room. Understood? Perfectly understood. Monday couldn't come fast enough. Monday night, I walked through Sunset Valley's employee entrance wearing borrowed scrubs and a name tag that said Morgan Custodial Staff. The weight of the mop bucket grounded me in this surreal moment. Me, a senior software engineer making 6 figures, about to clean toilets for $15 an hour. At 2 a.m., I finally reached room 247. Mom was awake, staring at the ceiling. She'd lost so much weight. Her beautiful silver hair was unwashed, tangled. The room smelled of industrial disinfectant and something else, neglect. Mom? I whispered, approaching slowly. Her eyes found mine, unfocused at first, then suddenly sharp. Morgan? My Morgan? It's me, Mom. I'm here. She took everything, Mom whispered, grabbing my hand with surprising strength. Rebecca. She made me sign papers. Said if I didn't, she'd put me in a state facility. No one would visit. But she took it all anyway. What did she take, Mom? The money, your father's life insurance, my savings, everything. Her eyes darted to the door. She comes with more papers. Always more papers. I don't sign anymore, so she signs for me. My blood boiled, but I kept my voice steady. It's okay, Mom. I'm here now. Every night? Every night I can. I work here now. She smiled then, the first real smile I'd seen from her in months. Clever girl, just like your father. Her hand moved to the nightstand, pointing. Top drawer, under the tissues. I had to continue cleaning, footsteps in the hallway. But as I worked, I watched Mom drift back to sleep, still clutching that locket around her neck. Whatever was in that drawer would have to wait until tomorrow night. The next night, while Mom slept, I carefully opened the nightstand drawer. Under a box of tissues were bank statements dating back 6 months, hidden like contraband. My hands trembled as I photographed each one with my phone. January 2024. Balance, $847,000. February, $750,000. March, $623,000. April, $501,000. May, $380,000. June, $5,000. $842,000 gone in 6 months. The withdrawal patterns were damning. 50,000 here, 70,000 there. One withdrawal for exactly $120,000 on February 15th, the same day Rebecca had shown up with her BMW keys. The signatures grew progressively shakier. Mom's normally elegant script deteriorated into barely recognizable scratches. The last 3 statements showed signatures that looked nothing like hers at all. I found more papers beneath, receipts Rebecca had carelessly left behind, a Rolex Submariner for $35,000, Louis Vuitton luggage set for $15,000, first-class tickets to Paris for $18,000, all dated after Mom entered Sunset Valley. She thinks I don't remember, Mom said suddenly, startling me. She was awake, watching. But I remember the important things. I remember what your father told me to do if something like this happened. What did Dad say? Document everything, hide the proof, wait for the right moment. She touched the locket at her throat. He knew Rebecca's nature. That's why he helped me prepare, before he died, before I got sick. Prepare what, Mom? But she was drifting again, lost in the fog of her disease. The nice lady with the stamp, she helped too, said it would hold up in court. Ironclad, she said. A notary? When? I wanted to ask more, but Mom's eyes had closed. I finished photographing everything, my mind racing. The numbers didn't lie, even if my sister did. I couldn't stay silent anymore. The next morning, I called Rebecca from my car, keeping my voice professionally calm. I know about the money, Rebecca. Silence. Then, what money? Mom's $850,000. The account that's now down to $5,000. How would you know anything about Mom's finances? Does it matter? Sunset Valley costs $1,800 a month. Where's the rest? Rebecca's laugh was cold. It's for Mom's care, medical expenses, specialists, therapies. You wouldn't understand the complexities involved. Therapies? She hasn't seen a specialist since she arrived. And that BMW? The Rolex? The Paris trip? How dare you? $1,800 a month, Rebecca. You put our mother in the cheapest facility in the state while spending her money on luxury goods. I have power of attorney, she snapped. Legal authority to manage her assets as I see fit. Every expense is justified for managing her care. A Rolex is justified? My time has value. The stress of managing her affairs requires compensation. It's all perfectly legal. Legal doesn't make it right. Listen carefully, Morgan. Her voice turned threatening. I know you're working at Sunset Valley. Did you think I wouldn't find out? I have friends on the board. One complaint from me about inappropriate behavior, and you're gone. Then I'll file a restraining order. You'll never see Mom again, and you'll have a record that follows you everywhere. Rebecca. Stay in your lane, little sister. Mop the floors, empty the trash, and keep your mouth shut, or I'll make sure you regret it. Mom's being transferred to a facility in Oregon next week anyway, somewhere you'll never find her. She hung up. Oregon? I had days, not weeks. Whatever Mom was trying to tell me about that locket, I needed to find out now. Thursday night, my second week, I found Mom more lucid than she'd been in days. Her eyes were clear, focused, urgent. Morgan, come here, quickly. I set down my cleaning supplies and knelt beside her bed. She reached behind her neck, fumbling with the locket's clasp. Mom, what are you? Take it. She pressed the locket into my palm. It was heavier than it should be, an antique gold piece I remembered from my childhood. I've been waiting for you to come. Mom, this is yours. Dad gave it to you. And now I'm giving it to you, for when the time comes. Her fingers wrapped around mine, ensuring I held it tight. Your father was smart. He knew someday Rebecca would. He knew what she was capable of. What do you mean? The truth is heavy, Morgan. Sometimes it needs to be hidden in plain sight. She smiled sadly. I wasn't always sick. I remember the day I made preparations. The nice lady with the stamp, Janet Morrison. She said it would stand up in court. Every word witnessed, every document sealed. My pulse quickened. What documents, Mom? Rebecca thinks she destroyed everything. But you can't destroy what you don't know exists. She tapped the locket in my hand. Promise me you'll use it wisely. Not for revenge, but for justice. There's a difference. Mom, I don't understand. You will. When the time comes, you will. Her energy was fading. Don't open it here. Too many eyes. Wait until you're safe. I slipped the locket into my pocket, feeling something shift inside it, something small and hard that shouldn't be in a piece of jewelry. Mom's eyes closed, a peaceful expression on her face. Thank you for coming back, she whispered. I can go now. During my break at 4 a.m., Dr. Coleman found me in the staff room. She poured 2 cups of coffee and sat down heavily. Your mother had a good night, she said carefully. More alert than usual. Thank you for everything you've done for her. She stirred her coffee slowly. We see more than we can say, Morgan. Your sister visits once a month, always with papers. Always when your mother is most confused, usually right after her afternoon medications. Papers? Power of attorney updates, asset transfers, insurance beneficiary changes. Last month, she brought a real estate agent to evaluate your mother's jewelry for sale. Dr. Coleman's jaw tightened. Your mother cried for hours after Rebecca left, kept saying she's taking everything just like he warned me. Did anyone report this? Report what? A daughter with legal POA managing her mother's affairs? The system protects the document holder, not the patient. She paused. But I've been keeping notes, personal observations, times, dates, your mother's condition during each visit. If someone ever needed a witness, would you testify to what you've seen? In a heartbeat. Your mother is being moved Tuesday, by the way. Rebecca filed the transfer paperwork yesterday. A facility in Portland. Medicaid only. She claimed your mother's funds have run out. Run out? After $850,000? That's what Rebecca documented. Apparently your mother's care has been extraordinarily expensive. Her tone dripped sarcasm. Strange how the expenses match the exact price of a BMW X7, luxury goods, and European vacations. You've been watching. We all have. The day shift nurses, the other janitors, even the administrator. But without legal standing, we're powerless. She stood to leave, then turned back. Your mother's been preparing for something. I don't know what, but she's been protecting that locket like it holds the secrets of the universe. If only she knew how right she was. Friday night, Mom was in a deep sleep when I arrived at her room. The transfer to Portland was in 4 days. If there was something in the locket, I needed to know now. I sat in the bathroom with the door locked and carefully opened the antique piece. Inside was a faded photo of our family from 1995, Mom, Dad, Rebecca, and me at Christmas. But there was something else, tucked behind the photo's backing. A micro USB drive, barely larger than my fingernail, with a tiny label. Truth, 2022. My hands shook as I connected it to my phone using the adapter I always carried. One file appeared. Eleanor Blake, Testament, 2022, MP4. The video was 47 minutes long. I couldn't watch it here. My phone battery was at 12%, and I needed to be careful. But I saw the thumbnail. Mom sitting in what looked like a law office, healthy and alert, with another woman beside her. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. Mom's being moved Tuesday morning, 6 a.m. Don't bother showing up, you're still on the no-contact list, and I've informed the Portland facility about your stalking behavior. Stalking behavior? She was already building a case against me. I carefully reassembled the locket and put it in my pocket. Whatever was on that video, Mom had hidden it for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. She'd held on to her clarity just long enough to pass it to me. Back in Mom's room, I held her hand while she slept. I found it, Mom, I whispered. Whatever happens next, I promise I'll use it wisely. She didn't wake, but her fingers squeezed mine gently. Somehow she knew. 3 more days, then everything would change. If you've ever had to fight just to see someone you love, you'll understand what comes next. This story is about to take a turn that nobody saw coming. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support helps me share these important stories. Now, let me tell you what I discovered on that USB drive that changed everything. Saturday morning, alone in my apartment, I finally watched the video. Mom appeared on screen, sitting in a professional law office. The date stamp showed March 15, 2022, 2 years before her diagnosis. My name is Eleanor Blake, she began, her voice strong and clear. I am of sound mind and body, as verified by Dr. Patricia Hoffman's evaluation attached to this recording. I'm making this video testament in the presence of Notary Public Janet Morrison. The camera panned to show Janet Morrison, an official seal on the desk, then back to Mom. I've recently been diagnosed with early-stage Alzheimer's disease. My doctors estimate I have 2 to 3 years before significant cognitive decline. I'm recording this now while I'm still fully capable of making my own decisions. My throat tightened as Mom continued. I hereby designate my daughter, Morgan Blake, as my sole beneficiary and the person I trust to handle my affairs when I'm no longer able. I explicitly do not grant this authority to my daughter, Rebecca Blake, due to her history of financial manipulation and coercion. She held up documents. Rebecca has repeatedly pressured me to sign over my assets. Last month, she threatened to have me declared incompetent and placed in a state facility if I didn't comply. These are her text messages making these threats. The video showed screenshots, Rebecca's number clearly visible, her words brutal. Sign the POA or I'll have you committed. You're losing it anyway. If Rebecca obtains power of attorney through any means, it should be considered obtained under duress and deemed invalid. This video, properly notarized and witnessed, serves as my true last testament. Janet Morrison spoke. This testament is legally binding and supersedes any POA obtained after this date. Notarized and sealed this 15th day of March, 2022. Mom knew. She knew everything that would happen. Sunday, 5 a.m. My last shift before Mom's transfer. I was emptying the trash in her room when the lights suddenly flicked on. I knew it! Rebecca stood in the doorway, immaculate even at this ungodly hour, her phone already recording. Morgan Blake, employed under false pretenses to violate a no-contact order. I work here, Rebecca. I'm doing my job. Your job? She laughed. A software engineer scrubbing toilets? You're stalking our mother. Security. 2 guards appeared behind her. My heart pounded, but I kept my voice steady. I'm on shift. Check with HR. She's harassing a patient, Rebecca told them. I have power of attorney. I want her removed immediately. The older guard checked his tablet. Ma'am, she's a scheduled employee. Night shift custodial. Then fire her. That would be HR's decision, ma'am. Monday morning at the earliest. Rebecca's face flushed. Fine, but she leaves this room now. I gathered my supplies, the USB drive burning in my pocket. As I passed Rebecca, she grabbed my arm. You think you're clever? Tomorrow Mom goes to Portland. You'll never find her. And I'm filing a restraining order first thing Monday. Stalking, harassment, elder abuse, I'll bury you in legal fees. Rebecca, she's our mother. No, she's my responsibility. And you're done here. Done with this family. She smiled coldly. By the way, I've already contacted your employer, told them about your unstable behavior, how you abandoned your job to pursue an unhealthy obsession. I pulled free and walked away, my hands steady despite my racing heart. Let her think she'd won. In 36 hours, she'd learn exactly what Mom had hidden in that locket. The guards escorted me out. My last glimpse was Mom's sleeping face, peaceful and unaware of the storm about to break. I was in my car at 11:47 a.m. when Dr. Coleman called. Morgan, I'm so sorry. Your mother passed away 20 minutes ago. The world stopped. But the transfer was tomorrow. She went peacefully in her sleep. Rebecca was notified and has already been here. She's arranged for immediate cremation, no service. I tried to suggest waiting, but she has POA. My voice sounded hollow. Morgan, I need to tell you something. Your mother woke briefly this morning. She asked for you. When I told her you'd been removed from the building, she smiled and said, Good. She has it. She's safe. Then she closed her eyes and let go. Tears burned my eyes. Mom had held on just long enough. Rebecca has instructed us to dispose of all your mother's belongings, but... Dr. Coleman paused. If you happen to be parked behind the facility at 2 p.m., and if a box of personal items happen to be sitting by the dumpster, well, we can't control what people take from the trash. Thank you, I whispered. Your mother was a remarkable woman. Whatever she was protecting, I hope it was worth it. At 2 p.m., I found the box. Inside were Mom's few possessions, her reading glasses, a sweater, family photos Rebecca hadn't wanted. And at the bottom, Mom's medical files, including one Rebecca had missed. Dr. Patricia Hoffman's cognitive evaluation from March 2022, stating Eleanor Blake was fully competent with no signs of diminished capacity, the same date as the video. I sat in my car, holding Mom's sweater, and made my decision. Rebecca thought she'd won. She'd stolen everything and left Mom to die alone. But Mom had planned for this. And now it was my turn to finish what she started. What happened next changed everything. If you think Rebecca got away with this, think again. The USB my mother left behind was about to expose years of deception. Before I reveal what happened in court, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear this story. Now let me show you how justice was finally served. Monday morning, I walked into the offices of Martinez and Associates with the USB drive, Mom's medical evaluation, and every document I'd photographed. David Martinez, a former prosecutor turned estate attorney, listened to my story without interrupting. When the video finished playing, he leaned back. This is elder abuse, fraud, and potentially criminal theft. Your mother was brilliant to create this. Rebecca has POA. Doesn't that protect her? Not when it was obtained through coercion. This video predates her POA by 6 months. It explicitly states any future POA should be considered invalid. He pulled up his computer. I'm filing an emergency motion today. We're asking the court to freeze all accounts, reverse the property transfers, and hold Rebecca accountable. How much will this cost? $5,000 retainer. But when we win, and we will win, Rebecca will be ordered to pay your legal fees. I wrote the check from my emergency fund. How long do we have? Rebecca's been moving fast since your mother's death. She's already initiated probate, claiming to be the sole beneficiary. But she made one mistake. She filed in King County. Judge Patricia Williams oversees estate disputes there. She has zero tolerance for elder abuse. When can we go to court? I can get us an emergency hearing within 72 hours. But Morgan, once we file, Rebecca will know you have something. She'll come at you with everything. Let her. Mom held on for 2 years to give me this evidence. I won't let her down. David started drafting immediately. We'll need witnesses, anyone who saw Rebecca's behavior. I have 3 nurses from Sunset Valley ready to testify. Perfect. And Janet Morrison, the notary? I'll find her. Good. Because in 3 days, we're going to war. The next 72 hours were a blur of preparation. Janet Morrison, the notary, immediately agreed to testify. I've been waiting for this call, she said. Your mother made me promise to be available whenever you needed me. Dr. Coleman and 2 other nurses from Sunset Valley provided sworn affidavits about Rebecca's monthly visits with papers, always timing them for when Mom was most confused. The bank provided records showing the hemorrhaging of funds, $845,000 transferred out in 6 months. My phone exploded with texts from Rebecca. What did you do? My lawyer says you filed something. You're going to regret this. I'll destroy you. I didn't respond. David called Tuesday evening. Rebecca hired Whitman and Associates, big firm, expensive. She's claiming you manipulated your mother and forged the video. Can she prove that? No, but she'll try to muddy the waters. She's bringing character witnesses, 15 family members who'll testify she was the responsible daughter. They never visited Mom. They don't know anything. Doesn't matter. It's about perception. He paused. Rebecca also filed a countersuit, harassment, stalking, intentional infliction of emotional distress. She wants a restraining order and damages. My stomach churned. David. Don't worry, it's a desperation move. She knows she's in trouble. He sent me an email. Memorize these documents. Tomorrow, stay calm, let the evidence speak. And Morgan, wear something conservative. Black if you have it. Morning clothes? Exactly. Rebecca will probably show up in designer wear, projecting success. You project grief and dignity. That night, I couldn't sleep. I held Mom's locket, thinking about her final message. Use it wisely, not for revenge, but for justice. Tomorrow, in courtroom 307 at 9 a.m., I'd honor that wish. March 15th, 2024, 9:00 a.m. Courtroom 307, King County Superior Court. I entered wearing my mother's funeral dress, simple, black, dignified. Rebecca sat at the defendant's table in a cream Armani suit, surrounded by 3 lawyers and 15 family members in the gallery behind her. They whispered and pointed when they saw me. Judge Patricia Williams, a woman in her late 50s with sharp eyes, called the hearing to order. This is an emergency motion regarding the estate of Eleanor Blake. Mr. Martinez, you may proceed. David stood. Your Honor, we're here because of the systematic financial exploitation of a vulnerable elder. The defendant, Rebecca Blake, used threats and coercion to obtain power of attorney, then drained her mother's life savings while providing substandard care. Rebecca's lead attorney, James Whitman, interrupted. Objection. These are unsubstantiated allegations from a disgruntled family member with a history of instability. We have evidence, Your Honor, David continued calmly. Video testimony from Eleanor Blake herself, recorded while fully competent, predating any POA by 6 months. Judge Williams leaned forward. Video testimony? Yes, Your Honor. Properly notarized and witnessed. We request permission to present it now. Rebecca's face went pale. She whispered frantically to her lawyers. Whitman stood. Your Honor, we haven't had time to verify the authenticity. You've had 72 hours' notice, Counselor. The judge cut him off. I'll allow it. The bailiff dimmed the lights. A large screen descended. David inserted the USB drive. Your Honor, David said, what you're about to see was Eleanor Blake's final attempt to protect herself and her assets from exploitation. She knew what was coming and prepared accordingly. He pressed play. Mom's face filled the screen, clear-eyed and determined. The room fell silent. Mom's voice filled the courtroom, strong and clear. My name is Eleanor Blake. I am of sound mind and body, as verified by Dr. Patricia Hoffman's evaluation attached to this recording. I watched Rebecca's face drain of color as Mom continued. I hereby designate my daughter, Morgan Blake, as my sole beneficiary. I explicitly do not grant this authority to my daughter Rebecca Blake due to her history of financial manipulation and coercion. Gasps rippled through Rebecca's supporters when the screenshots appeared. Rebecca's texts threatening to have Mom committed if she didn't sign the POA. Sign the papers or I'll have you declared incompetent. You're losing it anyway. Might as well make this easy. State facilities are horrible, Mom. Don't make me do this. Judge Williams' expression hardened with each message. When Janet Morrison appeared on screen, confirming the notarization, Rebecca stood abruptly. This is fake. She made this up. Mom was already sick. Sit down, Ms. Blake, Judge Williams commanded coldly. The video concluded with Mom's final words. If you're watching this, it means Rebecca succeeded in taking control. Please don't let her get away with it. The money isn't important. It's about protecting others from what she's capable of. The lights came back on. The courtroom was silent except for Rebecca's ragged breathing. Judge Williams looked directly at Rebecca. Ms. Blake, this video was dated March 15th, 2022. When did you obtain power of attorney? Rebecca's lawyer answered, September 2022, Your Honor. 6 months after this video explicitly stated any future POA should be considered invalid. Your Honor, Mrs. Blake's mental state. I have Dr. Hoffman's evaluation right here, the judge interrupted, holding up the document. Fully competent, no cognitive impairment. Ms. Blake, do you have any explanation for those threatening messages? Rebecca remained silent, her hands shaking. Rebecca's lawyer tried to salvage the situation. Your Honor, my client was under tremendous stress caring for her mother. Those texts were taken out of context. What context justifies threatening to institutionalize your mother? Judge Williams asked sharply. Rebecca finally spoke, her voice cracking. She wasn't capable of managing her finances. I had to step in. Someone had to be responsible. Responsible? David stood, holding bank statements. Your Honor, within 6 months, Ms. Rebecca Blake withdrew $845,000 from her mother's accounts. The facility she chose cost $1,800 per month, the cheapest in the county. We have receipts for a BMW X7 purchased for $120,000, a Rolex for $35,000, designer goods totaling over $50,000. Those were necessary expenses, Rebecca protested. Managing her care required a Rolex, Judge Williams interrupted. Explain how a luxury watch was necessary for your mother's care. Rebecca's supporters shifted uncomfortably. Her cousin Janet, who'd laughed at me months ago, stared at the floor. I needed to maintain professional appearances for meetings with healthcare providers. And the BMW? Transportation to visit facilities. David produced more evidence. Your Honor, Rebecca visited her mother exactly once per month, for less than 30 minutes each time. We have sworn affidavits from 3 nurses confirming this. That's not true. I was there constantly. We have visitor logs, Ms. Blake, the judge said. Would you like to reconsider your statement? Rebecca fell silent. Whitman made one last attempt. Your Honor, even if my client made some questionable purchases, she had legal POA. The transfers were technically within her authority. Authority obtained through coercion is no authority at all, Judge Williams stated. I've seen enough. I'm ready to rule. The courtroom held its breath. Before I rule, Judge Williams said, I'd like to hear from the witnesses. Dr. Coleman appeared on the courtroom's video screen, testifying remotely. Your Honor, I cared for Eleanor Blake in her final months. Rebecca Blake visited rarely, always bringing papers for her mother to sign. She timed these visits for when Mrs. Blake was most confused, usually after medication. Did Mrs. Blake ever express concerns about her daughter Rebecca? Constantly. She would cry after Rebecca's visits, saying, She's taking everything, just like my husband warned me. She was terrified of being moved to a worse facility. 2 other nurses corroborated Dr. Coleman's testimony via affidavit. Then Janet Morrison, the notary, took the stand in person. I notarized Eleanor Blake's video testament on March 15, 2022. She was completely lucid, fully aware of what she was doing. She showed me evidence of Rebecca's threats and asked me to be available whenever her daughter Morgan needed me. Ms. Morrison, Whitman cross-examined, isn't it possible Mrs. Blake was having a good day? Dementia patients often have moments of clarity. I'm a certified notary with 30 years of experience. I know the difference between clarity and competence. Eleanor Blake was both. She knew exactly what her daughter Rebecca was capable of and took legal steps to protect herself. Rebecca's own witnesses began leaving the gallery. Her cousin Janet walked out first, followed by 3 others. Your Honor, David said, we also have security footage from Sunset Valley showing Ms. Morgan Blake working night shifts as a janitor just to see her dying mother after Rebecca banned her from visiting. Rebecca's remaining supporters gasped. The image of me in janitor's scrubs, mopping floors at 2 a.m., played on the screen. She was stalking, Rebecca started. She was working, Judge Williams corrected, because you prevented her from saying goodbye to her mother. I'm ready to rule now. Judge Patricia Williams's voice rang with authority. This court finds clear and convincing evidence of financial elder abuse, fraud, and breach of fiduciary duty by Rebecca Blake. Rebecca gripped the table, her knuckles white. The power of attorney obtained in September 2022 is hereby declared null and void, as it was obtained through coercion and directly contradicts Eleanor Blake's documented wishes from March 2022. Your Honor, Whitman started. I'm not finished, Counselor. The judge's tone could have frozen water. Rebecca Blake is ordered to return the full $845,000 to the estate immediately. Additionally, this court awards $50,000 in punitive damages for the deliberate infliction of emotional distress on both Eleanor and Morgan Blake. Rebecca let out a strangled sob. Furthermore, all property transfers conducted under the fraudulent POA are reversed. The estate of Eleanor Blake will be distributed according to her stated wishes. Morgan Blake is the sole beneficiary. This is insane, Rebecca shouted. She manipulated our mother. She's nothing but a pathetic— Ms. Blake? The judge's gavel cracked like thunder. One more outburst and you'll be held in contempt. You have 30 days to comply with this order. If the funds aren't returned, I'll refer this case to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. The words criminal prosecution hung in the air like a blade. Your Honor, David added, we also request Ms. Rebecca Blake pay all legal fees. Granted, Ms. Blake will pay all attorney fees and court costs. Judge Williams looked directly at Rebecca. You betrayed the most sacred trust, that between a mother and daughter. You left her to die in substandard care while you lived lavishly on her life savings. This court hopes you use these 30 days for serious self-reflection. Court is adjourned. The gavel fell with finality. Rebecca stumbled out of her chair, her designer heels catching on the courtroom carpet. This isn't over, she hissed at me, but her voice lacked conviction. Her phone began buzzing incessantly. She looked at the screen, and her face went white. No, no, no! I could see the notifications piling up. BMW Financial Services, her employer, American Express. Word traveled fast in the digital age. Rebecca, Whitman said quietly, we need to discuss payment. Our retainer doesn't cover appeals, and frankly, you have no grounds. Not now. She pushed past him, rushing toward the exit. Her remaining supporters, only 3 of the original 15, avoided eye contact as she passed. In the hallway, Rebecca's phone rang. She answered on speaker by accident. Ms. Blake, this is Harrison Motors. We've been notified of a court judgment against you. Your BMW needs to be returned within 48 hours or we'll initiate repossession. She frantically pressed buttons to silence it, but another call came through. Rebecca, it's Tom from HR. We need you to come in immediately. There's been a serious allegation about misuse of company time and resources. She ran toward the parking garage, her perfect composure finally shattered. My Aunt Margaret, one of the few relatives who'd remained, approached me slowly. Morgan, I didn't know. Rebecca told us you were unstable, that you were harassing Eleanor. We believed her because— She paused, ashamed. Because she seemed so successful, so put together. Sometimes the truth is the heaviest burden to bear, I said quietly, remembering Mom's words. Margaret hugged me briefly, then left. David put his hand on my shoulder. You did it, Morgan. Your mother would be proud. I touched the locket at my throat. I'd worn it to court for strength. She knew this day would come. She planned everything. 3 days later, the consequences hit Rebecca like an avalanche. Her company placed her on indefinite suspension, pending an investigation into misrepresentation of personal emergencies and potential fraud. Apparently, she'd been claiming Mom's care as justification for extended absences while she was actually shopping in Paris. The BMW was repossessed on day 5 when Rebecca couldn't produce immediate payment. A neighbor filmed it being loaded onto a truck while Rebecca screamed at the repo men. The video went viral on local Facebook groups within hours. Her social media told the rest of the story. From 2,500 Facebook friends, she dropped to 500 within a week. Her carefully curated Instagram, full of luxury goods and blessed life posts, was flooded with comments calling her out. She deleted everything and went private. The Rolex and designer goods appeared on consignment websites within 2 weeks. Public records showed she'd moved from her $4,000 a month penthouse to a 1-bedroom apartment in Renton, the same kind of place she used to mock me for living in. David forwarded me an email from Rebecca's lawyer. My client is prepared to begin repayment. She can manage $5,000 per month. That's $170 months, I calculated. Over 14 years. We can demand a lump sum by forcing sale of her remaining assets, David offered. No, let her make payments. Every month she'll remember what she did. The local news picked up the story. Daughter, forced to work as janitor to see dying mother, Court awards justice. It sparked a wave of similar stories. 3 other families reached out to David, saying my case gave them courage to fight their own battles against financial elder abuse. Mom's sacrifice, hiding that USB for 2 years while enduring Rebecca's exploitation, was already protecting others. With the estate settled, I had difficult decisions to make. Mom's house in Bellevue sold for $650,000. She'd paid off the mortgage years ago, despite Rebecca claiming otherwise. I sat in Mom's empty living room one last time, remembering Christmas mornings and birthday parties. This house held our entire family history, but keeping it would mean holding on to pain. The first $200,000 went to establishing the Eleanor Blake Memorial Scholarship at the University of Washington's School of Social Work. It would fund students committed to elder advocacy, particularly those who'd cared for family members with dementia. Another $50,000 went to the Alzheimer's Association in Mom's name. They sent a beautiful letter saying the donation would fund research and support groups for families. I kept $400,000 as an emergency fund and investment for the future. Mom would want me to be secure, to never be vulnerable to someone like Rebecca again. The funeral I organized was everything Rebecca had denied Mom. 200 people attended, former co-workers, church friends, neighbors who remembered her kindness. Dr. Coleman and the Sunset Valley nurses came, sitting in the front row like family. Rebecca didn't attend. She sent flowers, grocery store carnations with a generic card. Sorry for your loss. Not our loss. Your loss. During the service, person after person shared stories of Mom's generosity, her wisdom, her strength. The scholarship recipients would be announced each year on Mom's birthday, ensuring her legacy lived on. Your mother was preparing for this even before she got sick, Janet Morrison told me after the service. She knew Rebecca's nature and wanted to protect not just her assets but you. That video was her way of fighting back when she could no longer fight herself. The Seattle Times article about our case exploded online, 15,000 shares in 48 hours. The headline read, "Daughter exposes sister's $850K elder fraud through hidden USB message from Mom." My inbox flooded with messages from strangers sharing similar stories. My brother did the same thing. "Thank you for giving me courage to check on my father. We're filing charges against my sister-in-law tomorrow." The ripple effect was immediate. Sunset Valley underwent a state investigation after 3 more families came forward about inadequate care and suspicious POA situations. They were forced to implement new protocols for verifying visitor restrictions and monitoring patient welfare. 2 other budget facilities in King County faced similar scrutiny. The state legislature fast-tracked a bill called Eleanor's Law, requiring video documentation for POA transfers involving adults with dementia diagnoses and mandatory oversight for accounts over $100,000. A producer from a true crime podcast reached out, wanting to feature our story. "Your mother's foresight could help thousands of families recognize the warning signs," she said. I agreed, on condition that all proceeds went to the scholarship fund. Local elder care attorneys reported a 40% increase in families seeking protective documentation after our story went viral. The Blake case, as lawyers called it, became a cautionary tale taught in estate planning seminars. Even Rebecca's former company implemented new policies, requiring documentation for family emergency leave and conducting audits on extended absences. "Your story gave me the courage to check on my father," one message read. "I found out my stepmother had moved him to a Medicaid facility while keeping his pension. We're in court next month." Mom's final message wasn't just about our family's justice. It became a catalyst for systemic change. Sometimes one voice, even from beyond death, can echo loud enough to protect countless others. 2 months after the trial, Rebecca sent an email. 500 words of carefully crafted apology. "Morgan, I've been in therapy since the trial. I realize now how grief over Dad and fear about Mom's illness drove me to terrible decisions. I was drowning in debt, about to lose everything. I convinced myself I deserved compensation for being the responsible daughter. I see now how wrong I was. I'm struggling to make the court-ordered payments while rebuilding my life." Could we discuss a payment plan that would allow me to keep my apartment? I'm also hoping we might someday rebuild our relationship. We're the only family each other has left. Rebecca. I read it 3 times, noting what was missing. No mention of mom's suffering, no acknowledgement of banning me from visiting, no real accountability, just explanations and requests. My response was brief. Rebecca, I'm glad you're getting help. The payment plan stands as court-ordered. Regarding a relationship, trust, once shattered, requires years to rebuild, if ever. I forgive you for my own peace, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or enabling. I wish you healing, but I can't be part of that journey. Please direct future correspondence through lawyers only. Morgan. She replied immediately. You're just like Mom, cold and unforgiving. There it was. The mask slipping already. No real change, just manipulation wearing a different costume. I blocked her email and instructed David to handle all communication. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. Mom knew that, which is why she made that video instead of hoping Rebecca would change. I forgive you, but trust needs to be earned, I said aloud to Mom's photo on my desk. And some people show you again and again that they can't be trusted. Believing them the first time is wisdom, not cruelty. Returning to my software engineering job felt surreal after weeks of mopping floors and fighting legal battles. But something fundamental had changed in me. Morgan, my manager David said during my first week back. You seem different. More assertive. He was right. When a colleague tried to claim credit for my code optimization, I spoke up immediately in the team meeting. Actually, that was my implementation. Here's the commit history. No apology, no softening, just facts. The company had heard about the trial. Rebecca's attempt to get me fired had backfired spectacularly. HR called me in, not to discipline, but to apologize and offer support. They'd also revised their family leave policies based on my experience. 6 months later, I was promoted to lead software architect with a 30% raise, bringing my salary to $180,000. The promotion committee specifically cited my demonstrated leadership and integrity under pressure. I shared my story at the company's annual meeting, focusing on recognizing elder abuse and the importance of documentation. Afterward, 3 colleagues approached me privately about their own family situations. I learned to value my worth from Mom's final gift, I told them. She showed me that staying quiet to keep peace isn't noble, it's enabling. Every time we don't speak up, we teach others how to treat us. My new approach extended beyond work. When a contractor tried to overcharge me, I presented comparable quotes and negotiated firmly. When a friend's husband made dismissive comments about my job being just typing, I corrected him with specific examples of systems I'd built that processed millions in transactions daily. The Morgan who used to smile and accept disrespect was gone. In her place stood someone who understood that respect isn't inherited or granted. It's commanded through consistent boundaries and self-advocacy. Thanksgiving arrived with the usual family group text from Aunt Margaret, organizing the gathering at her house. For the first time in my life, I responded with conditions. I'll attend if we agree to these boundaries. No discussion of the trial or Rebecca. No questions about Mom's estate. No guilt-tripping about family obligations. If these topics arise, I leave immediately. The text chain exploded. Cousin Janet, who'd mocked me at Rebecca's announcement dinner, wrote, "Demanding much? Family doesn't set conditions." "Healthy families respect boundaries," I replied. "Those who can't aren't family I need." Uncle Robert called me directly. "You can't just erase Rebecca. She's family." "She's your family if you choose. She's not mine, and I won't discuss this further." Thanksgiving came. 12 relatives attended. Rebecca wasn't invited after 3 cousins insisted they wouldn't come if she did. The first hour was tense, everyone walking on eggshells. Then Cousin Janet tested me. "It's sad that sisters can't forgive each other. Your mother would want—" I stood up, grabbed my coat. Thank you for dinner, Margaret. Wait! Margaret intercepted me. Janet, that was inappropriate. Morgan set clear boundaries. Respect them or leave. Janet looked shocked. The family had never seen anyone actually enforce consequences before. I stayed. The rest of dinner was pleasant, even warm. By dessert, relatives were asking about my promotion, my volunteer work with elder advocacy, normal things that had nothing to do with drama or trauma. Boundaries aren't walls, I told my teenage cousin, who asked privately why I'd almost left. They're gates with rules. Those who respect the rules are welcome inside. Those who don't, stay out. It's that simple. She nodded, understanding in a way the older generation couldn't. Sometimes wisdom skips backwards. The Elder Advocacy Support Group met every Wednesday at the community center. I started attending to process my own experience but soon became a mentor to others facing similar battles. My brother has mom's POA and just bought a boat, Sarah shared, tears streaming. She's in a state facility while he's sailing. I handed her my written guide. Protecting Your Loved Ones, a practical guide to elder financial abuse, which I'd self-published online. 10,000 downloads in the first month, with all proceeds going to mom's scholarship fund. Document everything, I told the group. Every visit, every transaction, every conversation. Facts win cases, not emotions. 5 people in our group were currently fighting POA abuse. I connected them with David Martinez, who offered reduced rates. 3 cases were resolved within months, returning over $2 million to elderly victims. One evening, a young man named Marcus approached me. My dad's girlfriend isolated him from everyone. He's got Parkinson's and she's spending everything. I spent 3 hours walking him through the steps, hiring a private investigator, requesting bank records, finding witnesses, building a timeline. 6 months later, he sent me a photo from court. His father's assets recovered, the girlfriend facing charges. You saved my dad, he wrote. Your dad saved himself by raising someone who wouldn't give up, I replied. The ripple effect continued. I spoke at senior centers, warning about red flags. Sudden POA changes, isolation from family, unexplained asset transfers, cheap care despite available funds. After each talk, at least one person would approach with suspicions about their own situation. Every story shared prevents another tragedy, I'd tell them, holding mom's locket. My mother's suffering wasn't meaningless if it protects even one other parent from the same fate. 1 year after mom's death, I organized a memorial service at the University of Washington where we announced the first scholarship recipients. The auditorium was packed. Families from the support group, Sunset Valley nurses, even Judge Patricia Williams attended. The Eleanor Blake Scholarship goes to Maria Santos, I announced, a social work student who cared for her grandmother with Alzheimer's while completing her degree. Maria took the podium crying. My grandmother died last month, but she knew I'd graduated. This scholarship means I can focus on helping other families instead of working 3 jobs. Mrs. Blake's story saved us. We got POA reversed from my uncle just in time. $25,000 per year for 4 years. Mom was sending another defender into the world. Dr. Coleman spoke next. Eleanor Blake suffered, but she never surrendered. Even in her confusion, she protected that locket like it held the secrets of the universe. Because for her daughter, it did. Rebecca sent flowers, expensive this time, birds of paradise with a card. Remembering Mom. Still couldn't write Our Mom. I donated them to the hospital's cancer ward. After the ceremony, I visited Mom's grave, a simple headstone. Eleanor Blake, mother, teacher, protector. I'd added protector because that's what she was, even in her final days. You did it, Mom, I whispered, placing fresh roses by the stone. The scholarship, the law changes, the family saved. This is all you. You turned pain into purpose. The wind rustled through the cemetery trees, and for a moment, I could swear I smelled her perfume. White shoulders, the same scent she'd worn my entire life. Mom's love didn't end with death. It continued through every life touched by her story, every elder protected by the changes she inspired. 18 months after the trial, David forwarded me Rebecca's payment history. She'd managed 12 payments of $5,000 each, $60,000 of the $895,000 owed. At this rate, she'd be paying until she was 64. Public records told the rest of her story. She worked as a sales associate at a department store, earning maybe $35,000 annually, a 70% pay cut from her previous management position. Her LinkedIn showed a 2-year gap in employment history she couldn't explain without admitting to the trial. "I heard about Rebecca," Aunt Margaret mentioned during a family dinner. "She's in therapy twice a week, has been for 8 months. The therapist contacted me as part of her treatment, wanting family perspectives." "What did you tell them?" "The truth. That she'd always been manipulative, even as a child. That we enabled it by admiring her success and dismissing your concerns." I felt no satisfaction in Rebecca's downfall. "Everyone deserves a chance to grow from their mistakes," I said, meaning it. Margaret studied me. "You've forgiven her?" "Forgiveness and reconciliation are different things. I hope she becomes a better person, but I won't be around to witness it." 2 relationships had ended when men Googled Rebecca and found the news articles. She'd moved twice when neighbors recognized her from the viral story. Her Instagram remained private, 47 followers instead of thousands. But she was consistent with payments, never missing one. David said she'd inquired about increasing them to $7,000 monthly to shorten the timeline. "She's trying," he noted. "Good for her," I replied and meant it. Redemption was possible for anyone willing to do the work. But that was her journey, not mine. Some roads are meant to be walked alone. 2 years after Mom's death, I sat in my new office. I'd started my own software consulting firm, reflecting on the lessons that Lockett had taught me. First, document everything. I now kept meticulous records of every important conversation, every agreement, every transaction. Trust but verify became my motto. The meek shall inherit the earth, but only if they keep receipts. Second, no is a complete sentence. I stopped over-explaining, stop apologizing for boundaries. When a client pushed for free work beyond scope, I simply said, "No, that requires a new contract." When relatives asked for loans, remembering how they'd sided with Rebecca, "No" sufficed. Third, patterns don't lie. Rebecca had shown her nature repeatedly, we just explained it away. Now I believed people's actions, not their explanations. When someone showed me who they were, I believed them the first time. Fourth, self-worth isn't negotiable. I charged premium rates for my expertise, walked away from disrespectful clients, and never again let anyone dismiss my work as just typing or playing with computers. Fifth, forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. I'd forgiven Rebecca for my peace, not hers. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or allowing her back into my life. Some people are meant to be loved from a distance, a very long distance. Finally, every ending is a beginning. Mom's death ended one chapter, but began another, where her story protected thousands. My relationship with Rebecca ended, but my relationships with chosen family deepened. "Respect is earned, not inherited," I told a young woman at the support group who struggled with family boundaries. "Blood makes you related. Loyalty, respect, and love make you family. Know the difference." The locket sat in my safe now, its message delivered, its purpose fulfilled. But its lessons lived on in every boundary set, every truth told, every life protected. Today, 3 years after that morning, I scrubbed floors just to say goodbye to my mother. I run a successful consulting firm with 12 employees. The Eleanor Blake Scholarship has funded 7 students. Rebecca has paid $180,000 of her debt. And Eleanor's Law has prevented hundreds of cases of elder financial abuse in Washington state. The locket sits in my office safe, that tiny USB still hidden inside. Sometimes I hold it, remembering Mom's words. Use it wisely. Not for revenge, but for justice. She knew exactly what she was doing with that locket. Every detail planned, every moment calculated, even choosing March 15th for the video, the Ides of March, the day of reckoning. Mom had a sense of poetry even in her rebellion. I still get messages from families whose stories mirror ours. My response is always the same: document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't enable abuse by staying silent. And remember, the person controlling the money isn't always the one providing the care. If you're reading this because someone you love is isolated, if their resources are mysteriously draining, if you're being kept away by someone with legal authority, don't wait. Check on them, ask questions, demand answers. Sometimes the only thing standing between a vulnerable elder and exploitation is one person brave enough to say, "This isn't right." Mom held on just long enough to pass me that locket. She died knowing her message would be delivered, that justice would come, that her story would protect others. Every family has its secrets, but secrets lose their power when exposed to light. Mom knew that. She bet everything on it, and she won. The meek shall inherit the earth, but only if they document everything and hide the evidence where the guilty will never think to look. If this story resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. Subscribe for more stories of justice and family truth. Comment below if you've faced similar situations. Our community is here to support each other. What boundaries have you had to set with family? Remember, standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. Until next time, stay strong and document everything.